So the day has come, it's time to start the day, and what better way than with a Hyundai? Cheesy, I know, it's okay. So yeah, today we're actually working on a Hyundai. This one's getting a lot of stuff too for something for this. All right, let's check it out. Kenwood 5-channel amp, Rockford 6.5, 6x9s, Stinger 4-gauge kit, refurbished Pioneer head unit. Hey, this guy's really going all out on this car. Before we start though, we do have to vacuum it because it's a tad ashy, we'll call it. Ashy. So we're gonna clean some of that out. Alright, well that's about as clean as that's gonna get, at least the area where we're gonna be working. So our first appointment is running a little bit behind, no big deal. We're gonna go ahead and get the speakers in the doors. So we're gonna work on this till he gets here. We're gonna pull this out, pull his in, and then we'll switch them when we're done with that. So we got the factory speaker out and it's a pretty big hole. And the nice thing about the Rockford Punch is they actually make 3 sizes. They make a 6, a 6.5, and a 6 3/4. So we grabbed the 6 3/4 and they fit. We still need a little tiny trim ring that we busted out real quick out of some Sintra. We'll go ahead, mount it in the door, get this thing out because the other car is here. So the first car this morning is this Corvette, even though it's actually technically the second car. You get the idea. Anyways, he's already got an aftermarket radio in here. What he wants to do is get back the Sirius XM. So we're gonna find the Sirius XM antenna, see if we can retain it, because we don't want to put a Sirius XM antenna on here if we don't have to. The second thing he wants to do is add a front-facing camera, because on the Corvette, the front is pretty low, and he doesn't want to hit any curves. Let's go see what Fernando's doing. So here is the Sirius XM module from the factory. This is a convertible, so it's located here in the center console. You remove this cool piece of plastic here, screws on the top, plug on that side, and then 2 more clips holding it from the carpet. Now what sucks about this is it uses the first generation Sirius XM. It's diversified, meaning it has 2 antennas. Luckily, we have an adapter for this. Now, you might be saying, why not just add a second antenna? Don't even worry about this. Well, it's a Corvette. Where would you put the antenna?
Nowhere.
Yeah, a lot of people will just put them up here on the windshield, but here in Florida, the windshield locations typically suck. I mean, it drops way more than necessary, so we don't like to put them there. The factory location for the antenna, you know, that would be ideal, is actually located here in the driver's mirror. I know, right? That's pretty cool, but sucks for us because we're not pulling the mirror apart and running a new antenna in there. That would be insanity. You could do it, I suppose. The adapter seems like the better option. So if you don't have a convertible, typically it's located right here, somewhere in this side panel of the car. They usually mount it about in this area. You can get to it there. Let's go get some parts for this car and a backup camera and figure out where we're gonna put that. All right, so for this, the Sirius XM, we're gonna need an extension. You guys have seen us use these before. I don't know if XM Fan Store still exists. We just go to Amazon and order a 10-foot extension. And then there's this guy. What this does is this allows you to take that cool diversified and turn it into a new single. It comes with the colors, the little adapters to plug in. There again, we get these on Amazon. So let's go ahead and take this over to the car. We're gonna get the radio out. We wanna plug everything in and make sure it works. All right, so plan A, total bust. Unfortunately, Sirius XM won't work with that diversified antenna adapter. We tested it, didn't work. Plan B seems a lot more appealing. Car's made out of fiberglass. Sirius XM will work pretty well through fiberglass. So what we're gonna do is this. Right now, we just have the antenna double stick taped to here. We're gonna make a bracket and mount it to this area here and run it along this. Fernando just took it for a road test, worked perfectly. Now we just need to figure out where we're gonna put this front camera. Alright, so the plan is to mount the camera right here. We've already put a screw in. We've drilled a hole in the bumper to snake the wire through. We're going to mount the bracket in place. It's got some 3M double-sided tape on the back, and we're also going to screw it in place. We've gone ahead and shrink wrapped and covered the wire so that it'll be nice and weatherproof. Let's go ahead and get this thing mounted in place. Alright, so we have the camera mounted in place, and what we're doing now is we have it wired up to our test battery, and of course our view here, what we're trying, hey, you can see me. So what we're doing is we're trying to line up to figure out where a curb would be so he has enough space between the front of the car and the curb. So I think where we have it mounted now is pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten it up and run some wires. Alright, so let's take a look at that. There you go. Let's look at the side shot. Let's check out the screen. Alright, so there we go. That's what it looks like from the front. Tap me the rear view. Tap it again. If you hit the timed button in the top left-hand corner, that'll allow you to go back to the screen. If you hit the X in the right-hand corner, it'll take you out of there. If you press and hold the map button, it'll pop back on for you. Alright, so here's where we mounted the Sirius XM antenna. We put a rivet in there and a black screw, and then zip tied it all along the factory harness. Alright, we're finally done with the Corvette. We had a little hiccup with the top. We did learn something though. So if you disconnect the battery with the top not fully closed and then leave it disconnected for a while, it kind of kicks the top out of the computer. Luckily, it's an easy enough reset. Just roll the windows up all the way, hold the switches for about 5 seconds. And then go and hit the top button. It'll roll the windows down and either open or close the top depending on which one it needs to do. Helpful tip for the day if you're ever working on a Corvette. We're gonna try to get this thing done before it's time to go.
Lunch, peanut butter, yummy.
So a real popular question that we get is like going through the firewall. And it's not an easy task sometimes. Like in this car, this Hyundai, we just spent 15 minutes trying to figure out where to go through, you know, I'm gonna feel like a mechanic now because, you know, and it's not a precise science. This car has a 5-speed transmission, it's a stick. So that's the cherry spot. You always, it's like, it's an automatic, awesome. You can go right through that area there. This has the clutch, so we had to find a different spot. There's a lot of wiring harnesses, a lot of brake lines. So what you wanna do is take and, you know, figure out the area and then you want to start with a small bit like this.
Yeah.
And make an exploratory hole. And then you take your pick tool and you go through the area in the firewall. And while I'm underneath there, of course, holding the harness or having my hand on the brake booster, praying to God he doesn't drill through my hand, you know, we can put this through and then figure out, did we pick a good spot? Are we in the way of any wiring harnesses? As opposed to just hitting it up straight, going at it with, you know, the big bit. That doesn't always work out. Just go slow. Two people. If you don't have a nice grommet to go through, two people are great because you have one under the hood and one in the car, and you can direct. The other thing too that's really helpful is when you can take the pick tool and you can tap where you're gonna go and start tapping like Morse code, and you can kind of feel the metal on the other side. You get an idea of where you're at. It can be tricky. It can be real tricky because it fools you into thinking, like in this car there's a giant frame rail and it goes into the engine compartment very far. Either way, of course you want to see where we drilled the hole. Let me show you. So there's where we found the spot. We drilled an exploratory hole first here, and that came through right behind a wiring harness. So obviously we didn't want to pick that spot. So we knew we could go down an inch and we'd be perfectly fine. Now what we'll do is we'll silicone up that hole so that we don't have any problems with it. And of course we'll run our wire through here and silicone that up. Alright, so let's take a look at some parts. For this install, we're going to use the BK HYNK 1119. It's going to allow us to put a double din in this Hyundai. Now there again, all these universal kits have a ton of crap you need to break off. So your best bet is to always just get the factory radio and compare it up. Alright. Now the nice thing about some of these kits is these holes are different sizes, so that'll let you know what is up and what is down. Now I can already guess that looking at this kit, this radio is gonna suck mounting in, and I wouldn't be wrong. That's terrible. See, the problem is that, you know, like we talked about the other day, these radios don't stick out this way as far as they used to. So now when you go do a kit like this that needs that much space, they sink these things in a lot and they just look terrible. Sometimes we can do something about it. Fortunately, this one, I don't think so. The way this kit is designed, it actually rides that same. We'd have to sand off what holds this kit together. Let's get the dash. You know, it's pretty close. We might be able to mount it without this on there if we bring this all the way up into the hole. I think we should try that. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and attach these brackets, or at least figure out where they go. Then we'll try screwing this in and then sliding the dash in place. All we had to do is add one of our pieces of foam here just to fill in this void. We're all good. Alright, so progress report. We're going to mount the amplifier here in the corner. Go ahead and lift it up. We went ahead and put some rivets so that we can screw it down, make sure it's secure. It's going to rise up above that wire so we don't have to worry about crushing that. We just got in the rear speakers. The plan is we're going to run new speaker wires because we're mounted in the trunk, and it would just be silly to run speaker wire all the way to the front only to come all the way to the back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and then across, and this guy right here, we're going to go up the center console with the RCAs, the remote turn on, and all the speaker wires. Fernando's going to start wiring up the amplifier. Check that out. Alright, so Fernando just finished putting in the amplifier. Looks real good. Mounted there nice and secure. We have the subwire ready for the box. This is getting a CompC subwoofer. Fernando's working up here on the battery. So he's just got it loomed up, figuring out where he's gonna put the fuse holder. And I'm getting ready to wire up the dash. So we came up the center console with the wire. Now we just have to get it up here into the dash and all hooked up to our harness. All right, what do you think?
It's awesome.
Awesome?
Yeah.
Ready to go home?
Ready.
Let's go home. All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.